Hi, welcome to Learning Leader Spotlight, the podcast where we interview learning leaders. I'm your host, Leanne Langford with Training Pros. Training Pros is a learning and development contract staffing company where we like to say, when you have more projects than people, let us find you the consultant to start your project with confidence. I am really excited to welcome our guest today. She's an old friend of mine, Danielle Willinger. She's the Senior Manager of Instructional Design at GALLO. Say hi, Danielle.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You are so welcome to be here. We're thrilled to have you. So I'm just going to start asking some questions and let's just have a discussion. First, can you tell us in about 60 seconds who you are and what you do?
Of course. I currently lead an instructional design team at a wine and spirits company called GALLO in California. I've been in the learning development industry for about 13 years, 8 of which I spent at Home Depot. I've had various roles from instructional design to learning execution to learning strategy to learning leader. I've supported various parts of the business, including sales, supply chain, retail stores, home services, marketing, and more. I've also spent several years focused on leadership development from a design, execution, and strategy perspective. I'm extremely passionate about helping others to be successful, whether they're onboarding or needing ongoing development or preparing for their next role. And so that's a little bit about my journey in learning and development.
It's fantastic. Can you tell us how you were first attracted to learning and development?
Absolutely. I went to college to be a high school English teacher. And after realizing that wasn't quite the path I wanted to take, I more or less fell into instructional design, as many do. I applied for an instructional designer role thinking that I could probably do it with my degree, got the job, and then realized I should probably figure out what instructional design was. And so I learned on the job and realized that it's actually very similar to teaching. It's just for adults who have different learning needs than high school students. So as I continued in the field, I really just loved the impact I could make on such a broad audience. And I loved how I could connect with so many different areas of business and industry from the learning department. There's never a dull moment because this job allows you to learn something new almost every single day.
I couldn't agree more. I often tell people the reason I love instructional design is that it feeds my inner ADD. It's always something new.
Yep.
I have learned an incredible depth of information about a lot of subjects.
Exactly.
So what are the biggest changes you've seen in the last 3 to 5 years in L&D?
Absolutely. One of the biggest changes I've seen is a shift in how we develop content. We used to follow a very linear development process with ADDIE, which is great for a lot of reasons. However, many of us realize that it's hard to keep up with the pace of the business by following such a linear approach. So I've seen a huge shift to a more agile way of development. I actually led the initiative to switch to Agile Learning Development at Home Depot. By making this change, we were able to develop content more quickly and keep up with the business more effectively. We could also make changes easier, and we even saw higher engagement with the designers. One of the biggest complaints I've seen with training is that it takes too long to create. And while we'll likely never alleviate that complaint fully, a distance development approach really helps minimize the issue.
So that's fascinating. I haven't worked in corporate as an employee in a long time. As a consultant, I learned you have to be fast. You have to get right to it.
Mhm.
And it sounds like they have come up with a great process where you can get right to it, which is agile.
Exactly.
Yes. Have you found that you've been able to use that from company to company?
Yes, there's a lot of reception to it across companies. It's really taking flight industry wide, which is wonderful. I think some companies are more advanced than others in how they use it, and everybody adapts it to work within their own company and their own industry. But I do find that it's being very broadly used across the learning and development industry at this time.
Yeah, that's wonderful. We do find a lot of consultants that have the agile background that they put on their resumes now that they can work in an agile environment. And we've offered several webinars on how to change over to an agile development process. So there's a lot of books on that as well.
Yes, absolutely.
So where do you see L&D heading in the next 5 years?
I think AI will have a big impact on the L&D space in the next several years, even more than it has already. Most companies are actively exploring how to leverage AI for L&D, which is really exciting. It's a fun time to be in the industry. And I see the impact of AI most in the content development space. AI can help us write scripts, record voiceover, create drafts of videos, source images, and really so much more. And this frees us up to be more creative and spend time doing the things where the human brain can really be more impactful. We can be more strategic and thoughtful. We can create a wider variety of learning solutions. We can work with the technology to make a bigger impact on our learners in a way that's ideally best to meet them where they're at. We can also use AI to automate processes from tasks like folder structure to creating course numbers to sharing content. If we can automate more of those processes, then it frees us from that administrative work that can distract from our main goals. I'm really thrilled to see the L&D field, how it evolves over the next few years. I anticipate we'll see significant changes, and a lot of the roles that we're familiar with will evolve in terms of the skills we need to be successful. We'll need to look into upskilling and reskilling the L&D workforce in a way that sets us up to best leverage technology and support how people learn in their workflow. And the times are changing in a way that's requiring us to think outside of the traditional approach that pulls people out of their workflow to learn. There's a time and a place for that, but most people learn best while on the job instead of doing training separately from their job. So we need to adapt in a way that best meets the needs of our ever evolving learners.
I love a lot of the things you said in there. One of the things I loved is that the jobs are going to evolve rather than go away.
Exactly.
A lot of people are, at the beginning, were afraid of jobs going away. I think they're starting to realize, okay, my job's not going away. I just need to learn how to do it differently.
Exactly.
Yes. And I feel like it's a way for us to be able to do the tasks that used to take the most time, do them more quickly so that I have a feeling what it's going to turn out to be is higher demand and more excellence in what we do versus, well, we'll have less to do because this AI is doing this in process work.
100%. Yes.
Fantastic. Who has been your most influential professional mentor over the years?
I've been fortunate enough to have many mentors through my career, in addition to several champions and sponsors that have helped me on my journey. My most influential mentor was Imani Man. I first met Imani when I was interviewing for an instructional designer role at Home Depot. And once I got hired, she just made me feel so welcome right away. She got to know me and she made me feel like she cared about me as a person. She also shared tips to help me be successful and ensured that I had opportunities for exposure. And throughout my time at Home Depot, I worked with Imani in a variety of capacities. She always pushed me to be better while fostering our relationship at the same time. She gave me advice, and she always made time to talk no matter how busy she was. She helped me navigate my career and genuinely invested in my overall success. She also encouraged me to not always take the path that I thought I should take based on my understanding of how to be successful in a big corporation. She encouraged me to think about where I really had passion and follow that instead of what I thought others expected of me. I really just hope that one day I can have as big of an impact on someone else as Imani had on me.
That's a great goal, especially with the folks who are listening, the people who are interested in being learning leaders. I like to include that question because I want them to go out and seek a mentor. A mentor is the way to move forward and really push yourself to the next level. They really can help you more. And I love that you have a great story about that. And it's a story about somebody I know. So I love it.
Yes, even better.
Even better. So you've worked at some really big companies over your career. What skill or role do you think is the hardest one to find when you're hiring?
Yes. Managing ambiguity, I think, is the hardest skill to find, but it's one that is really crucial to success in the L&D space. Most things in learning and really in life are not straightforward. And to be impactful in any role within L&D, you need to be able to navigate through the gray areas. You need to take a complex business problem and find a way to solve it with a learning solution. Or you need to sift through pages and pages of documentation and find what's most important. Or you need to deliver training on topics that are not clear cut. And that list just keeps going on and on in this space. And where I found the most success in my own career is when I've been able to take those hard, complex problems, sift through the chaos, collaborate with appropriate people, and find solutions that are beneficial for everyone. And those who can navigate through ambiguity most efficiently, they're really going to stand out and be more successful. And it's a hard skill to train. So it's ideal to hire someone with that skill if possible, and then to refine it as they grow throughout their career.
I love that, the managing ambiguity. It's impossible to be completely clear without completely stifling your employee. Instead of saying, here's the goal, see if you can get to it. If you start saying, okay, here's what we're trying to accomplish, but I want you to do step 1, step 2, step 3, then do step 4. You're taking away all of their ability to grow and learn and come up with new ideas and new ways to do things.
Exactly.
That's a great skill to talk about. What is your favorite source for industry news and information?
Yes, I really like Learning Solutions by Learning Guild. They have wonderful articles that are relevant to the L&D space, and they do keep their content fresh. I also like the Association for Talent Development, of course, which I'm sure most people in the industry are familiar with. I would encourage everyone to get involved with their local ATD chapter because you can learn so much through connecting with local learning professionals, as we both know very personally. And one other publication I like is Morning Brew, which is more business news. But I think it's really crucially important to be knowledgeable about business as an L&D professional. So this helps me stay current about what's going on in the world as well.
I love your answer for a few reasons. Number one, the relevance of looking at the business news. So as L&D people, we need to be careful that we're not in a bubble of L&D. We need to be able to speak the language our business speaks. And even if it's just general business, or if you're in a specific field, you need to be reading the information about that field so that you can speak to your clients internally.
Yes.
Then the second thing I loved, of course, was your reference to your local ATD chapter. So for context, Danielle and I met when we volunteered together at our local ATD chapter. And I strongly encourage learning professionals wanting to grow their career, don't just join the ATD chapter, volunteer, do some, because that's when you really meet people and you can really raise your career.
Exactly. Yes. Highly recommend.
Yes. And so where you are now, do they have an ATD chapter in wine country?
I am still exploring that. I've been here for about 3 months now, still getting acclimated. I'm sure they do have one. I'm sure they have something. And so I'm looking forward to finding out where the local chapter is and getting involved and volunteering to meet others. But first step is to get myself and my husband and our son fully settled and get acclimated to the role. And then I'm really going to dig into the area and see what we can explore.
Absolutely. I have a feeling you'll have to travel to Sacramento or San Francisco or something.
Probably. Yes.
Probably. So this is one question I love because I'm getting a nice reading list out of it. What is one book that you would recommend everyone wanting to become a learning leader read?
There are so many good books out there. A few are 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, 360-Degree Leader, Atomic Habits, so many more. The book I'd recommend most, though, is called What Got You Here Won't Get You There by Marshall Goldsmith. When you achieve a certain level of success, it can be natural to think that you just need to continue doing what you're doing and you'll continue gaining success. But that's really not the case. And that surprises a lot of people. The most successful people constantly change themselves for the better. What made you successful as an individual contributor will not make you successful as a leader. And what makes you successful as a leader might not make you successful as a business partner. And it goes on and on as you continue evolving throughout your career. So it's about identifying what adjustments you need to make to be successful now and in the future. And then really dedicating that energy to continuously bettering yourself as well as those around you. And I do have to say, for those female leaders out there, I'd highly recommend Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. And this book helped me gain confidence and really find my place in the workforce as a female. And it helped me even more after becoming a mother and trying to find the right balance to manage what has really become a very integrated personal and professional life. So those are a few books that I would recommend to really anybody, but especially those in the learning and development industry trying to become a learning leader.
I love that. First of all, you gave us several books to think about, several of which I have read, but I love the one about lean in for women. I can't picture you as anything but a confident woman, but if you said that this helped you become more confident in the workplace, that is probably a very good book to read as a woman.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to put that on my Audible account and take a listen.
I would. Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you so much. I think you've given a lot of good information that's going to help our listeners, and I really appreciate you being on the show. As a thank you, I am going to we're going to plant 5 trees in your name. That's our charity
Oh,
for Training Pros.
that's wonderful.
Yes, I'll send you a certificate that tells you where we planted the trees. And it's just our small way of making sure we give back to the world as part of our business.
Oh, thank you. That's great. I'm so glad you're doing that. And thank you so much for having me. This was wonderful.
Oh, thanks. Oh, good. That's it for this week on Learning Leader Spotlight. Please be sure to tune in next week. And again, thank you, Danielle, for being our guest.
Thanks for having me.